Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Lauren, you're watching the Valentines, where I cover things homegrown and homemade. And today I am showing you how I made this murky, eerie Witch's Brew cold process soap. So the spooky season is upon us, or for some of you it already started. And certainly for soap makers, you gotta give your soap time to cure, so it's high time to get your Halloween soaps going. And I have made this Witch's Brew inspired cold process soap. I wanted to do something that was murky and eerie and looked like something kind of stirred in a pot of cauldron. So I've done this 100% all natural, just like all of my soaps are. The dark black color is from activated charcoal. I also have a eerie deep purple from Brazilian clay, and then the green color comes from chlorella algae. So all natural colorants here. And then for the fragrance, this one is really beautifully scented with a combination of oils, essential oils. I've got tea tree and peppermint blended together. For some reason, I just thought that seemed like Witch's Brew to me, and it came out really vibrant and beautiful. So here is exactly how I made this beautiful all natural cold process soap. Okay, so first thing is first, and that is to make my lye solution. Now you can see I am using ice here, and this has become my preferred method. I used to master batch my lye in a lot bigger batches, but now that we're in the RV and space is limited, I don't have room to store all that lye solution on hand. I've been using ice. It's such a great solution for me because you can use the lye solution almost immediately. It comes out to around 100 degrees, which is great for soaping at. And it also has no fumes because you're using ice instead of water to mix the lye. And see how quickly the lye naturally melts the ice. It's pretty cool. And here we are, completely melted here. As you can see, it's at about 98 degrees. Now I've already melted my oils. They're at about 103. That'll be okay. I like to soap around 100 degrees, so close enough. I've also got my different colorants here, adding my kaolin clay here, which I add to all my batches. And then the top left, I've got purple Brazilian clay for the purple. And the top middle, I have got chlorella algae for a dark green. Bottom right is some activated charcoal, and then I have my essential oil blend. Today I am using a blend of peppermint and tea tree oil. I just thought that sounded good for a Witch's Brew soap, and it is a beautiful combination together. These are the elements that are going to be throughout the whole batch, so I'm going to go ahead and stick blend these together really well. So now it is time to add my lye solution. I'm starting out mixing this by hand with a spatula because I don't want to overblend this. I want to have time for the swirls. It's at the whole mixture now combined is at around 100 degrees, which is pretty good. Be nice if it was a little closer to 90, but too low temperature and you start getting racing. So now I'm going to come in with the blender, but just enough to like barely get the saponification started. Just want to have time to make the swirls before it comes to trace. And now I'm going to separate this out for the different colors. I am not weighing or anything. I'm just eyeballing this to, what proportions I think that I would like to have for this soap. And now I can go ahead and add the activated charcoal to the big bowl. It comes with a really tiny scooper, and that's because a little bit goes a long way. So this is actually the darkest batch of activated charcoal soap I've ever made. If anyone's familiar with my regular line, I make a tea tree one, and I just don't put as much in. It's more of a gray instead of a black. using the whisk instead of the immersion blender is also just going to give me a little bit more time before the batter starts to thicken too much. I'm just making sure to get all of the clay and the powders from the bottom and the sides here. And then, as much as I wanted to avoid it, I am going in with the blender just enough to make sure that we have everything blended really well. Okay, let's pour and swirl. And comes the first color. This is my base, so I'm pouring it in first. And I'm going to scrape as much of those beautiful contents and ingredients in there as possible. And then I'm doing a drop swirl this time. A lot of times I do in the pot swirl, as you've seen on my other videos, but this one, well, it turned out kind of like a drop swirl. I'm not scraping these other containers. I'm going to be saving that soap that's left in it aside to do a design on the top. So right now I'm just getting it in, no rhyme or reason here. Now I'm getting the rest of the soap left in this container because I want to have a green stripe across the top as well as a purple stripe. And I almost forgot to add more texture to the swirl. I use a chopstick to do this, so almost forgot about that. And now here comes the purple line across the top as well. And I'm really liking the way that this zigzag pattern is turning out across the top. I'm just using the chopstick to swirl these colors back and forth in between each other. A little more texturizing just on one side with the back of the spoon. A little more cleanup around the edges and making sure that we get all the way into the corners. And once again, we have another beautiful wet soap top. It's glistening and gorgeous, and can't wait to show you guys what it looks like once it's dried out. And here we are the next morning. See how the colors turned out? A little bit lighter than the previous frame, and it came away from the mold pretty easily. I really hadn't waited 24 hours, more like 12 or less. So you could have waited, I could have waited a little bit longer to cut this, but you can see how the seal came away from the bottom pretty well, and it came out pretty easily, even though it was still just a tiny, tiny bit tacky. Look at that. So nice. Really feeling the Halloween vibes here. Love it. And the cut is always the most satisfying part. I love how every bar looks a little bit different. Even the front and the back of the same bar look different with the swirls. Pretty cool. Here's a great comparison of the different cuts. And I really love how spooky this turned out. Now, if you guys have been following the channel, you know that I just started beveling my soaps after over 5 years in business. I just like the way that it looks a little more finished and the edges are a little bit more clean. And I just do it with a vegetable peeler. So I ended up getting some fun props from the dollar store, and I took some photos for my Etsy listing. So this should be available soon. If you guys are watching the video, definitely go ahead and check out my Etsy store. It's going to be linked below. And I'm even thinking this year, I have my pumpkin spice soap that I made in another recent video. So I'm thinking I'm going to sell a duo of these two on Etsy. Haven't decided 100%, but I took a couple pictures just in case. So be sure to check that out as well. So that's it for this soap, guys. I'm just going to keep beveling away over here, but I really appreciate you guys watching. I'm really interested to know if you're interested in seeing more themed soap videos, certainly holiday themes. So please let me know that in the comments. I love to have the conversation going down there below the videos. And I really appreciate you guys being here and watching. I will see you again soon with another handmade and homemade video, guys.